Good morning, everyone. I'm your host, Lauren Krasnoff, and you are watching the Freshmen Radio Heads show on WHITradio.org from the High-Tech High School of Hudson County Schools of Technology in North Bergen, New Jersey. You can join the conversation at 201-854-8224. With me today is Marianna, Sam, and Carrington, and today's topic is ancient civilizations. We're going to talk about how ancient civilizations have affected communication today. The first subject we'll be discussing today is the ancient civilization of Mesopotamia. This old culture was one of the first to create the form of writing, a surprisingly sophisticated system called cuneiform. Carrington, can you tell us more about this subject?
When I was researching this, I just found it really interesting because I'm like, well, imagine living without vocabulary and all this other these expressions that we use today, and it's just really weird because they didn't really speak to each other. They had these little pictures and tokens that they pressed them into clay to express what they needed, and it was very vague because they could only express nouns and everything. But then they realized that they needed another form of communication, so they started to do pronunciations, and it was still very vague because they couldn't really explain everything, and some things related to other words. So they came up with a system of speech, and when I read the article, it said a system of determinatives which gave a hint of the category a word belonged to. It helped you to understand what they needed. And I feel like this really helped us in today's time of communication because we have such intriguing literature, and I feel like we should use it while we can because if we don't, who will? And that was it, so thank you.
Next on the show, we will discuss the famous Alexander the Great from Egypt. He became king of Egypt and some of Greece at the age of 20. Sam, can you tell us more?
Yes, so I wrote about Alexander the Great, and he's one of history's most well-known rulers. He didn't have a very easy life, though. His father was assassinated when he was only 20, and so he had to take over the throne all by himself. But he led a strong kingdom and an experienced army, so he did really well and made lots of changes. In honor of his father, he used his authority to launch his father's military expansion plans, and so he was awarded the generalship of Greece. Other notable actions of his were the Achaemenid Empire, as well as controlling Asia Minor. And he also began a series of campaigns which lasted an entire decade. Alexander died when he was 32, but he led a life full of accomplishments, which included the 20-some cities he founded. Alexandria in Egypt was one of the most famous. His brave moves and courageous acts are what stood out to people, and which is why he is still remembered today.
Thank you, Sam. The next great civilization, which I'm going to talk about, is Greece. So many years ago, ancient Greece controlled the Mediterranean, and it was strongest under Alexander the Great, which we just heard about from Sam. The Greeks believed in many different Olympian gods such as Zeus, Hera, Poseidon, and many others. They believed that the gods impacted their lives and they would sacrifice for them. There are many stories and myths about the gods such as Iliad and Odyssey. Greece also had many famous philosophers such as Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. Another famous Greek was Pericles, who led the Greeks in their golden age. The culture of ancient Greece was formed a lot of Western culture today and impacted us in many ways, whether it was the government, science, math, arts, and most importantly, communication. So in ancient Greece, they didn't have the modern technology that we use today to communicate. yet they were very innovative in their methods that have shaped technology that we have now. One of these creations was a tube-like horn that army generals would use to speak to large groups of people, sort of like how we use a microphone today. Messages were sent by using light flashes and signals through the sky to send urgent messages. They also used pigeons to deliver messages. And another form of sending messages was through tablets, which had the Greek alphabet, which, by the way, Greece was one of the first European countries to have an alphabet, and all European alphabets today stem from their alphabet. Another method of communication was to the gods. People would pray to the gods for their well-being. All of these things are similar to what we do today, which is why Greece has impacted today's modern communication. So next, we have Marianna, who's going to talk about Rome.
I wrote about Rome, and ancient Rome is known as one of the largest empires in the ancient world. It was founded in 753 BC by Romulus and Remus. Did you guys know that about 20% of the world's population is from ancient Rome? It is located along the Mediterranean Sea and centered on the city of Rome. Roman civilization went from a monarchy right to an autocratic empire. All through the Mediterranean region, Rome was very known and was one of the most powerful places in the world. Society of ancient Rome was very devoted to modern government, law, politics, engineering, art, literature, architecture, technology, warfare, religion, and language. Its military increased greatly, and they created their own government system that was known as res publica. And for the United States and France, it was their inspiration. It accomplished many things like the development of roads, large monuments, and other public places. Towards the end of the Republic, after Rome conquered the land, Augustus Caesar became the leader of the Roman Empire. Believe it or not, the longest conflict in history was the Roman-Persian Wars, which lasted 721 years. Their first war was against Parthia, and it started in 92 BC. The Dark Ages of Europe was a tough time, but the eastern part of the Roman Empire handled to get through it. After the empire split, Constantinople began to govern the Eastern Roman Empire.
Thank you, Marianna. So this wraps up today's topic of ancient civilizations and how they impacted our communication today. Thank you for watching, and thanks to our panel, Sam, Carrington, Marianna. I'm Lauren, and this is the Freshmen Radio Heads show on WHITradio.org from High Tech School of Technology of the Hudson County Schools of Technology.